Solo leveling anime is in a very weird position right now because it was hyped up as this big, beautiful, never before seen thing, almost as big as the return of Jesus. And it's understandable why a lot of people were excited to see this animated because the Korean manhwa this anime is based on was just as popular as the Bible itself. But Solo Leveling didn't have a very smooth release, I'd say. I don't mean it didn't have a proper release schedule or had technical difficulties, at least I don't think it did. But this anime came out in a season where the greatest anime of all time was airing, and the only thing that could even come close to its dominance was Apothecary Diaries. Solo Leveling was literally nowhere in terms of popularity compared to these two. But even then, I didn't see a single person added onto their quote-unquote underrated list of the season either. So why is that? Was Solo Leveling that much of a stinker? Was it a terrible adaptation? How did one of the most anticipated shonen anime get bodied by an old elf? So let's begin with what is Solo Leveling and why it became so popular. Solo Leveling is a Korean manhwa, not Japanese, but Korean. Unlike manhwas are usually fully colored, at least when viewed digitally. I'm not gonna go super in depth on what manhwas are, but just to set the record, they are Korean versions of mangas or comics with their own distinct style and differences. There are many cool manhwas out there. Granted, I haven't read most of them, but some popular manhwas have got anime adaptations before, like Tower of God and God of High School. But nothing came remotely close to the popularity of Solo Leveling in the manhwa space. It was such a standout that Solo Leveling wasn't even competing with manhwas anymore. I read Solo Leveling just for this video, and I can see why people love it, and I can also see why it didn't do well as an anime. And it's not because Solo Leveling is bad, and it's not because the adaptation is completely bad either. This is a very weird area where little quirks from both sides adds up to create something that's not really a good experience. Solo Leveling is an action anime, and good animation is very much deserved, or more so a necessity, especially considering it's adapting such a popular source material. But Solo Leveling disappoints, and I'm not disappointed because it's unwatchable, but because of how generic the art style and animation is. This anime does not have the charm of the manhwa, be that in style, characters, action. It looks like a seasonal isekai studio got hold of it. Shangri-La Frontier, another anime that finished airing recently and is nowhere near as popular, got a much better adaptation, and that to me is borderline criminal. Now, I would argue this is a very exclusive problem to Solo Leveling, because a big reason to enjoy Solo Leveling is the beautiful art. So it's a bit disappointing to see this anime get a subpar treatment. One of the animes that succeeded in making a good adaptation of a shonen action anime is Demon Slayer, and Solo Leveling reminds me a lot of what it could have been. Solo Leveling's narrative is not really anything to write home about, and it's what most people would call quote-unquote the mid, at least till where the anime is adapted. But the action sequences and hype moments are the reason people go back to read the manhwa, and you can totally see why. The manhwa art is gorgeous, filled with amazing colors, fighting panels, particles, and everything else that makes you want to keep looking at it. I don't want to be too harsh on the anime and keep on dragging the same argument, because I'm not saying it's unwatchable, but just the priorities aren't straight. But there is more. Like I said, Solo Leveling is comparable to Demon Slayer in a lot of what it does. I don't mean narratively, but in what it's trying to appeal to people. This is a power fantasy show where a normal, wimpy guy becomes powerful and levels up his powers from zero by himself without the help of anyone, hence the name Solo Leveling. Sung Jin Woo, the main character, is a hunter. Hunter in this world are humans who possess magical abilities, and they must protect humanity from deadly monsters by going through a portal and battle them. Sung Jin Woo is a weak hunter. Sung Jin-woo is a very weak hunter and barely survives every time he goes into a dungeon. He's treated as a useless pawn whenever the other hunters take him. Usually the hunters make a party of hunters who belong in the same class and go to these raids and bring back the profits if they survive. But one time Sung Jin-woo and his team of hunters went into a dungeon that they never expected, and from there Sung Jin-woo's life completely changed. Now he is finally as powerful as me during a shower. That's the general theme of solo leveling, which is fun in itself. And the anime adds more stuff on top of the manhwa, which adds more side character backstory, which is pretty good. But overall, I hate the pacing of the story because it takes a long time to get anywhere. For an anime that is about fights, this one takes its sweet time to get there. And this is coming from someone who loves and usually prefers story elements more, but the story in Solo Leveling is so lackluster and one-dimensional that I don't even bother to care about it. Talking about caring, another thing I don't care about in this anime are the characters. I'm not gonna say the manhwa did it better because they didn't, and with a name like Solo Leveling, it's very individualistic, so I was not expecting any kind of actual development to any side characters, but I gotta give credit to the anime for at least trying to build on some of these characters, which was pretty decent, but honestly, I still don't care about any of them. One of the biggest problems of Solo Leveling was the hype surrounding it. Hyping up pretty much anything doesn't go very well most of the time.
In 2077, what makes someone a criminal? Getting caught.
And Solo Leveling was also a victim of that. I don't know if the producers weren't expecting this to be such a huge anime due to all the bad and interesting decisions they made throughout, but whatever it is, the decisions were terrible. I think the potential of such a good source material as an anime is huge, and while I wouldn't really call it a disgrace, I would have loved to see a beautiful eye candy looking Solo Leveling, because this is one of the animes that could have done it. I hate saying other popular studios could have done this project better, but when I think about it, it's kind of sadly true, because a studio like MAPPA or Ufotable could have done a better job at adapting it to a degree that's much more enjoyable. A lot of people love calling out shows saying it's carried by animation. Like, brother, it's an anime. It's animated. If it's well animated and people enjoy watching it, why are you pressed? It's an anime. It should be carried by animation. I don't get that argument at all, and I would absolutely love better animated shows. I don't even care if the narrative is good. I'll be happy to see some good Sakuga on screen any day. Now, I'm not saying I don't like narrative because of that. It's just that I will watch shows also because it has good animation. I know most people, including me, are still being a bit too harsh on this anime, and I think they could have done a better job overall if they made some right decisions. Solo Leveling is not a bad anime, but it is a very mediocre one, and people calling it out as mid and boring is very much understandable. Anyway, I'm gonna stop my yapping right there. Thanks for watching this video. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you like my content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.